Well done, everybody. We are pretty much at the end of the term for most of you, which is fabulous. We're now at the end of either your first year delivery, your second year delivery, or your third, fourth, and fifth year of delivery, and so on. So last year we had this lessons learned from delivery for the health and science TQs, and it was a really good success. People really loved hearing from our panel speakers, and we thought, right, well, let's get education early years on this as well. So we are a full TQ program today of panel speakers. So for those that don't know who we are, we're going to do a bit of introduction from myself. Then Gemma will introduce herself, and she's also going to introduce Elena for those that haven't met Elena in absentium. I knew I have to get the word in there today because unfortunately Elena is not able to join us this morning. So for those that don't know who I am, obviously I'm one of the NCFE provider development officers. So in this role, I've been supporting providers with the 3 health and science qualifications for the last 3.5 years. It's gone so quickly, and really helping them to support them in sort of compliance and excellent teaching practices and providing training and support. So my background is teaching in health and social care and also psychology, and I'm really passionate about sort of supporting students. And then my natural progression to that was, well, how can I really support teachers to get the best outcomes for their students as well? So that's just a sort of summary of who I am. I'm now going to pass over to Gemma.
Hi, morning everybody. So for those of you that haven't met me, I'm in the same team as Tracy and in the same role. So I'm also a provider development officer, and I work with the education and early years providers. So same role, but slightly different background, slightly different experience. It's great to have so much experience that's quite diverse in our team. We've all got experience of teaching. I've worked in both further education and higher education. So my background most recently has been in higher education, so programme leading undergraduate degrees and PGCE. So very much like Tracy, the thing that drives me and gets me out of bed every morning is supporting providers with their teaching, their learning and their delivery. And I've got a bit of a background in mentorship as well. So I really enjoy working with you all to support you with your T-level delivery. And I'll just quickly introduce Elena as well. So Elena sadly couldn't be with us this morning, but she is also part of the provider development team and is currently working beside myself with the education and early years providers. Those of you that are in education early years will know that it's been a bit of a crazy whirlwind last half term of the academic year. So we've been working together to support those providers. Now, Elena's background is as a maths teacher, my worst nightmare, but she is absolutely amazing at it. And she's also, like myself, got experience of teacher training as well. So you will see Elena around on future events, and hope you see her soon and say hi, because she's still around for a little while longer yet before she has her break for the summer.
Thank you, Gemma.
Thanks,
so this is our agenda for today. So we'll do a little bit of warming up, a little bit of getting started on this Friday morning. I know somebody said it was sunny, but it's not sunny up here. So hopefully brighten your day if anybody's like us where it's a bit grey today. Then we are going to do some reflection from our NCFE panel. So that will be myself and Gemma reflecting year 1 and 2. And we're also going to be joined by Simon Titley, who is our NCFE Senior Awarding Programme Manager. We have then a plethora of panels, speakers, and we'll go into a bit more detail about the different sort of background and experiences and what they're going to share in a bit. Then we will have a break because it is 3 hours, so we do need a little break, a little comfort break. We will then have a breakout discussion where we can actually get into our calls, and that's 25 minutes really just getting together, sharing our experiences, the good, the bad and the ugly. Let's just put the whole thing in there. And then we'll finish with some key takeaways and a panel Q&A at the end with some CPD signposting for next year. So what you will find, and Gemma, if you can put the 2 links in the chat as well, we're going to be using Padlet today. Actually, leave the Padlet link because so not to confuse people, because we're going to be doing Slido first, but we are going to be using Padlet and Slido. If you do want to get ahead of the game and use your phone to get those up and ready, that would be great. But we will be starting with Slido, so don't worry, that QR code will come up. Please use the Teams chat if you've got any questions. If you want to unmute your mic, you can do when it comes to question time. And I hope you really enjoy today's session from both interactivity and from the panel. So let's begin with our first interaction on Slido. So again, there's the QR code, or you can go to slido.com and put in #reflect, all capitals. Or you can go through the link for the Slido, which Gemma has kindly put in the chat as well. So our first poll for today: what advice would you give a new T-level teacher? Because I do know we've got a few waves on here. So what advice would you give to a new T-level teacher? If you're having issues accessing Slido, can you please put your answer in the chat so you can still be part of it and still interact with this? That's a good one. So don't panic seems to be the first one. I'm a new T-level teacher, so they're absolutely excited to hear your answers. I've got another new teacher. Oh, work backwards. I like that. So look at what your end goal is, and then look at how your curriculum planning and design is going to lead to that end goal. Very good. Talk to others who have done it. Yep, absolutely. Use your best resources, is you with your experiences in sharing those resources. Use the resources available. Find out as much information about the programme as you can before delivering. And I know for some of you that's been like, yeah, we'll give you curriculum planning time, and you're at July and you're like, well, I still haven't been given any curriculum planning time. But there are a huge amount of resources and videos out there. And when we follow up, for those that haven't seen it, we will share our YouTube playlist so that you can do that bit of listening and researching as well. Yes, thank you, Christine. Use NCFE materials and advice. Well, that's very kind. Thank you. I'm going to take that as a compliment as well. Victoria, you have your hand up. Do you want to share?
Hi, yeah, you said about the NCFE materials. Do you have to register? Are they available for anyone?
Yep, so the NCFE resources, you have to have a portal login to access them. So if you already have like a cache login, you'll be able to use the same login and you'll be able to download them. You have a mix of essential resources, which are free. So all the schemes of work are free. Then you have essential resources, which actually cover quite a lot of the year one content, which are free, and then there's additional resources which you then pay for. And then for health and science, we also have Gatsby, who have done free resources for us as well. So
that's great. Yes. Thank you.
No problem. Really good question. Yes, ultimately it's collaborate, join networks. I love all these ideas. It is about sharing ideas and strategies. Right, we're going to move on to our next one. Now, one word. Okay, just think one word to describe your T-level journey. I know, one word.
This is tricky, isn't it? One word.
One
Put
adjective,
you all on the spot.
one adverb, one. Oh, awful. Oh, no.
Oh. Steep. Yeah, it's more of a learning arc than a curve, I think, for some. Roller coaster, lovely. Yeah. Confusing, fair.
Have we got some positive for anyone?
Yeah,
positive word.
I hope it doesn't remain awful. We're here to help. Regenerative, that's nice.
Yeah, great.
Exciting.
For me, I thought it was exciting to get away from unit-based assessment again. For me, when looking at it, I was like, oh, gosh, I can actually teach and use strategies again and things like that, things that I love. That's what I see.
Oh, yeah. Christine has said positive in the chat. That's good.
Yeah, good. Wonderful.
That's good.
For those that are having a really awful experience, please reach out to Gemma and I, and we'll see how we can make it less awful for you, because I know we can. We can get you to the excited stage, hopefully.
And if you're not there yet, you will. You'll get there.
You will. Excellent. These are really good words. And actually, I think we've pretty much encapsulated them on our side as well. So what you can see here is some of the words that we've picked out, and they are similar. You know, it has been challenging times. There has been sort of testing time, but there is this freedom that you can have within your delivery as well. It is pioneering. It is different. It is completely different to any other level 3 qual. But it does have a big impact on student outcomes. We are seeing that as they leave college, they're having really great outcomes from them. Gemma, do you have anything additional to add to any of these?
Yeah, I think that it is a different style of qualification. There's lots of assessment methodologies. There's lots of skills that your students might not have had to demonstrate before. So it is a big ask for us as T-level professionals to be delivering these qualifications. But as Tracy says, the outcomes for students are wonderful. We can see that across the board. There's a lot of literature out there now about, end destinations for T-level students, and they really are exceptionally positive. And that's down to you all out there delivering this qual. And for those of you that are new, you are about to join a bit of a roller coaster, but it's a positive one and it's an exciting one. And as Tracy says, we're always here in the background to support you with it. So do reach out.
Yeah, thank you. So now we're going to move on to our NCFE panel reflections. We're going to start with Simon, and then Gemma and I are going to share our reflections. So Simon, I'm sure I saw you earlier on the chat.
I am here. Yes, I'm here.
Fabulous. Excellent. So Simon is our NCFE Senior Awarding Programme Manager, and I'm going to pass it over and he can introduce himself fully. And just let me know when you need to move on, Simon, with the slides.
Yeah, thanks, Tracy. I will try my best. I'm sorry that you've got me today, unfortunately. I've only been here for 7 weeks, and so I'm going to do my best to talk through a couple of points with this. But I am the Senior Awarding Programme Manager. I joined NCFE in May, and I lead our T-level programme team. And so my team are responsible for sort of making sure that all of the contract management for the T-levels happens as it's supposed to. And also we support all of our NCFE colleagues to meet all of those contractual requirements. I've been in awarding for a long time at this point, and hopefully I don't look like it, but I started on a graduate scheme back in 2009. And then I've sort of worked through various roles up to senior level roles within awarding organisations. And so I am at NCFE until January, when a colleague will be returning to lead the T-level programme team from the new year. Tracy, if you could move on. So because I am very new to this, what I thought it would be useful to just cover some of the basics around T-levels, and hopefully for those of you who are brand new, this will be new information, and for those of you who are well established in delivery, this will just be a bit of a reminder of some of the key principles behind T-levels. So I think hopefully you're all aware that T-levels are based on the same standards as apprenticeships and designed by employers and approved by Skills England. Now, just a reminder that, or maybe it's brand new information for you, but the Institute for Apprenticeships and Technical Education, who were originally responsible for all of this work, was dissolved on the 1st of June, so really recently, just a month ago. And they've been replaced by Skills England, which is a new executive agency within the Department for Education. So when we talk about the Institute or IF8, we now mean Skills England and DFE, but it is a little bit confusing about who took responsibility for what. And so across NCFE, we use the terms interchangeably at the moment, and we will get better at that over time. I'm going to try my best to be consistent with my language. So Skills England are responsible for anything that's curriculum, content and standards. And then the Department for Education is responsible for all of the sort of contractual requirements and making sure that T-levels are being implemented as expected. So Skills England, industrial strategy, DFE, all of the nuts and bolts behind the mechanisms of implementing those T-levels. NCFE currently manages 7 T-level contracts. So we've got Generation 1 business, digital business and digital support services. That is only available for existing learners, so there'll be no new learners on that programme. So if you're delivering that at the moment, I don't think we've got anyone from digital at the moment on this call, do we, Tracy?
No,
That's
I
fine.
think we're fine.
More context. We've got the Generation Healthcare Science and Science, which have their final registrations in September of this year. And then we've got Generation 1 and Generation 2 Education and Early Years. So only existing learners can continue on Generation 1, and new learners will be on Generation 2 from the 1st of September. We'll cover off that sort of parallel running in a second, but Tracy, if you could move on the slides, that would be amazing. So I think the first thing to pull out about T-levels and why these are different qualifications, and so sort of reflecting on some of the things that came up in that Slido, T-level, the biggest principle behind T-levels is that they're designed to maintain currency. And what that means is that the content is constantly evolving throughout the life cycle of the qualification. Now that provides providers and awarding organisations challenges in keeping that content up to date. But that's what adds value to our learners. And so we have to constantly evolve the content throughout the qualification life cycle to reflect what's going on in the sector, and also all of the feedback that we receive from you, from employers, and other stakeholders in these qualifications. So just to sort of talk through what that review cycle looks like a little bit, so you've got a bit of context. We collect feedback on our T-levels through all of our stakeholder touch points, so including meetings like this where we're just face to face. Anything that's fed back we collate, and then we reflect on that later in the year when we get to our sort of review cycle. Every October we also launch a dedicated provider survey to formally request your feedback over and above the stuff that we get informally, and then that gets incorporated into our development actions. So for every year, every core and every occupational specialism is reviewed, and we have a panel of experts who help us do that, and that panel is made up of employers, sector bodies, and providers like yourselves. The checks that we complete includes making sure that the content aligns to what we call threshold competence. And so if a learner completes this qualification, would they meet the requirements to be employable at the end of it? And so what we're looking for when we talk about threshold competence is if a learner produced the work that we're asking them to produce an assessment, and they use those responses in an interview, would you hire this person? Do they meet the requirements of the job? And because that changes so frequently, that's why we have this sort of constant review cycle for T-levels. And it's slightly more complicated than I'm making it out, but I am trying to keep it high level because there are two opportunities for us to change the qualification every year. We tend to try and group them together because we know that providers don't like making in-year change. And so what we try to do is group all of the changes together, publish a new version of the specification in April so that it's ready for providers in September. Now, I say April, those of you who are delivering early years, you'll be aware that it was a little bit later for the Generation 2 early years, and that was to do with some of the challenges of development of a brand new qualification, which we'll come on to in a second. I think beyond our annual reviews, and this is the early years stuff particularly, but beyond our annual reviews, every 5 or so years, there is an opportunity to create a new generation of the qualification. And this is where really significant changes come in. So we are really excited to have won the bid for Generation 2 early years and education in early years. And as I've said, that will launch in September. This really was an opportunity to make some radical change. And what we've done with this one is we've taken all of the feedback, both from our providers, but we've also looked at the route by route reviews undertaken by DFE, the Institute, or IFA as it was at the time, and in conjunction with Ofqual. So all of the external stakeholders in T-levels had an opportunity to feed into what was working well and what wasn't working well. And basically, when we reviewed the route by route, we agreed with a lot of the feedback and we tried to implement as much of it as possible. So with the new Education in Early Years TQ, technical qualification, we look to address feedback around things like duplication of content, how the content is structured, how it sort of flows, the order of the assessments, all of those sort of things that were causing frustration to providers in particular. We've looked at trying to fix as much of that as possible. And if you've had a chance to review the new qualification specification, hopefully you agree that this really is a second generation rather than just an iterative improvement, as we've done with other qualifications in the past. The challenge with updating a qualification so significantly is that for this year, we will see the first parallel running of Generation 1 and Generation 1 and Generation 2 Wave 1 T-levels. And what that means is that for some providers, it'll be the first time that you're running T-levels with two different awarding organisations for the same qualification. Now, that shouldn't impact anyone on this call for this year, but to flag that that will happen for some of you next year when health and science move over to a different awarding organisation. The awarding organisation who won bid 2, who I'm not going to name in this call, but I'm sure you're all very familiar. What that means is that for us, we are trying our best to work with all of the other awarding organisations involved in T-levels to make sure that we are working to minimise any disruption. Now, we know that there are going to be challenges with delivering 2 lots of qualifications at the same time, as there always are with other qualifications. The difference is that with T-levels, because we're constantly updating them, you'll have a new specification for Generation 1 and a new specification for Generation 2. The new specification for Generation 2 is significantly different. And so what we're advising is just keep reaching out to us and using all of the support mechanisms that we've got in place. And we are using all of the feedback that comes in from providers and employers to try our best to support you through this transition. And anything we learn from this year, we'll also implement next year and will continue to improve over time. And that's partly my team's job, is to make sure that this T-level delivery is as straightforward as possible, working with all of our NCFE colleagues. I think I just have a couple more things in my notes, so I'm just going to double check. I think this is just an opportunity to flag again that the provider development team in particular have so many resources and networks and things that you can get involved in, and opportunities like this one. So I think make use of all of the things that we're putting out there. Keep providing your feedback, and we will do our best to respond in whatever way we can. So I haven't really talked through any lessons learned. However, I think hopefully that's been a useful background to what goes on with T-levels and content review. And when you're talking about these being difficult programs to deliver, and challenging and awful and all of those words that came up at the beginning, I think the underlying principle is that T-levels are fundamentally different from everything else that we've offered, and every other qualification that is offered in the post-16 space. It is designed to be demanding, it is designed to be industry relevant, and it is designed to be constantly updated. And so some of the challenges that you're facing are fundamental principles of a T-level. I think what we need to do is work to minimise those challenges as best we can. And so hopefully we are doing that, and you're seeing that journey for those of you who have been with us for a while.
Yeah.
I think that's me talking over. Tracy, thank you.
No, that was really useful, Simon. Thank you. I think for a lot of people who, especially for education in the years, who's going through that transition at the moment, and health and science, where there are some anxiety about the moving towards an AO, I think it does at least give that little background. And what I always say for those of health and science who are a little bit concerned about AO is have a look at the processes that are happening with the education early years, and that will also give you that indication of what the potential ways that your qualification could change as part of that Gen 2 as well. Because like education, it didn't have a big huge content overhaul as in that's it, you know, you throw away your PowerPoints, and it's unlikely that that is what the Ofqual are going to look to do. What they want to look to do is making things easier, more accessible, and supporting that transition and supporting better assessment outcomes, all those things, rather than being, oh, am I going to have to throw my PowerPoint out because I'm moving to another AO and they're going to go do something completely different. No, we've started this initial generation with the quals, and what we're just looking with the next gen is to continually tighten up, improve it, and move with the standards and competencies as well. So Simon.
Sorry, I just remembered one
That's
other
okay.
thing that I probably
That's
could have
okay.
mentioned, which is just around occupational specialisms in particular. It's not so relevant to education in early years, although it has happened in the past. As part of this constant evolution of content, we do regularly look at which occupational specialisms are going to be delivered as part of that qualification. And so I think there have been changes to education in early years in the past. There will be a change as part of the Generation 2 Health and Science with the removal of healthcare science. And this constantly evolving journey is part of the government looking at what is happening in the sector. And so it's not just us making these decisions. Some of it is industry policy, which will now come from Skills England. But what they're looking to do is, even where an occupational specialism has low numbers, it's not like with other qualifications where there is a threshold, and if there are fewer than 100 learners taking this qualification, awarding organisations will no longer be able to develop something that's funded. With a T level, it is all about the industrial strategy. And so for some of these occupational specialisms, there'll be very few learners on them, but because it is a growth area for government, they will continue to be funded. And so there are some real, I realise I'm getting into the detail here, but there are some real differences between how a T level functions, both in terms of funding and funding approach, and it's linked to the industrial strategy compared to other qualifications where there are really fixed rules about what will and won't be funded. So T levels will be funded it's a fundamental part of the DFE policy. And I think the more they can push people towards T levels and the more they can grow that brand, that's better for both learners and providers, but also it's super helpful for us as well, because it means that we can develop and invest in more resources, etc.
Fabulous. Thank you very much, Simon, for sharing. Are you able to pop back later for the Q&A panel, or shall I just collect any questions and send and follow up?
I will try. Do you want to just drop, Gemma, if you want to just drop me a message on when that's due to start, I'll take a look at, see if I can join.
I will, yeah, no problem. Thanks, Simon.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you very much,
everyone.
Simon. Take care. Okay, so that was really great. Really interesting. I always find that interesting, that side of the T levels. I'm going to move past this a little bit, this Slido, guys. Sorry about that. I know it sort of popped up on your phone probably. But I'm just going to move past that Slido for now, just because Simon did run over a little bit, but it was very, very interesting. And we just want to sort of encapsulate what we've learned working with the hundreds of providers that we work with. What are the sort of the key themes that we've picked out for the different quals? So we've seen for health and science qualifications, we've seen a real uplift in the understanding and planning for the core exams. I think we've seen that really uplift and progress really well. Employer set projects are also becoming more structured, with providers really embedding clear preparation phases for the employer set project. I think overall we're seeing a growing confidence in the practical based tasks as well, with teachers linking theory more intentionally to industry expectations. What we've seen is some challenges, of course. There are still some common challenges. Gaps in science literacy and terminology are particularly noticeable, especially in health and healthcare science. But even in the science qual, we're still seeing a bit of gaps in that science literacy. But many providers are still working on balancing student independence as well with structured support. I'm speaking to a lot of providers, and they're seeing more and more students coming through with support needs as well, which is impacting that. And across all three routes, there's an ongoing need for clarity, really about how to apply command verbs and meet the assessment objectives effectively. So to address these, we've been working on lots of strategies ourselves, Gemma and Elena and I, and we have got a recording coming out soon from the assessment readiness workshop that we did. That should hopefully be out by the end of July. So you can pick this up next summer when you return from your holidays. So we've looked at lots of ways and strategies that you can get that sort of link between the AO, the command verbs, and the marking criteria. Obviously, increased simulation-based learning we're starting to see, which is really good for health and science, because they are not out in placement so much and there's less of that real-world application that the education in early years have. This gives that EE education a little lift up, because when it comes to the AO2 and their exams in the ESP, they're doing significantly better in the AO2 because they're able to contextualize that, because it's almost like everyday practice for them. With health and science, it's taken them a little longer for the students to get there and to really apply that to the real world and the knowledge that they're learning. But we're seeing more interactive and active based more active lessons and providers doing more interactions and simulations, which is helping to contextualize that. So broadly, providers are getting better at identifying what good looks like, both in teaching and student evidence. But again, challenges are still around written justifications and drawing conclusions. So that higher order is where there's still those challenges. But it is encouraging that value providers are placing on shared resources. We're seeing that more and more, exemplars and the growing networks that you have as well. I'm going to move over to Gemma, who's going to do a bit of a summary for education early years.
Lovely. Thank you, Tracy. So again, following the same format as Tracy's just discussed for her quals, for education in early years, we're seeing an increased confidence in delivering the core content, especially around child development and safeguarding, which is great. I know that safeguarding is one of those sort of tricky areas to teach, so that's wonderful to see. Stronger integration of placement experiences with classroom teaching. This is one of the things I shout about probably most often, that it's really important to have that collaboration between what's happening in placement and what's happening in the classroom to make those theoretical links come to life. That theoretical knowledge come to life via application is so important. An improved use of employer engagement to contextualise learning. And I know we've got Kirsty from Bright Horizons on later on the call. He'll be talking a little bit around employer engagement and placement settings as well. So that's great. Challenges, balancing the coverage of extensive content with time for deeper reflection and student-led activity. I think Generation 2 will help us with this. We've streamlined that content, as Simon alluded to earlier on, so I think that will definitely help with that challenge. Supporting lower retaining learners in extended writing and applied tasks. I think this is always going to be the case, isn't it? And developing those strategies to support those learners is something that Tracy, Elena and I have been really keen on helping support you with this year, and will continue to do so. Managing placement logistics and evidencing occupational specialism competencies. The 111, they're there. They aren't going anywhere, but we're going to be spending a bit of time in the new academic year supporting you with that more, which we'll come to later in the call. Greater use of formative checkpoints and mock tasks. Yes, we've seen a greater influx of providers using this approach, looking at formative assessment and preparing students for their sort of high stakes assessment using those mock activities. Scaffolding student reflection through structured prompts. So we've also adapted the ESP as part of Generation 2, which has a greater sort of structure around reflection activities, which should help meet that challenge. And that key adaptation will help when you're planning for those live assessments by giving you more structured reflection models. Improved collaboration with placement providers to align learning objectives. The conversations you've been having with your placement settings this year have been brilliant. For those of you that are new to T-level, and I know there was a few of you pointed that out early on in the call, this is really important, and we'll be talking a bit about how you can do that effectively later on in the call. And then those national themes. So providers generally are getting better at identifying what good looks like. You're getting better at being able to see what a good response, for example, to an extended response question looks like, what a good reflection looks like, and what a really solid observation of skills looks like in practice. As with all the other routes, challenges remain around written justification and drawing conclusions. And Elena did a great session that there will be a recording of yesterday around academic literacy and looking at how we can support students to do that. So watch out for that on the YouTube playlist as well. That will be coming. And then again, as with healthcare science and health, high value placed on examples, exemplars and shared best practice. For education and early years, those of you on the call today, you have been wonderful this academic year at sharing best practice, coming together and supporting each other through the journey. Please do keep that up. It's one of our strengths, I think, as an AO, that we support you to do that and create channels for that to happen, like the call this morning and like the best practice network that we've set up for education. So keep tapping into that and keep reaching out and working with each other to get the best outcomes for your students.
Fabulous. Thank you, Gemma. So we did also a cross TQ reflection. So I'm not going to go through that at the moment because I want to move on to our panel. If we've got some time at the end, we'll come back to the across all TQs reflections. We've gone a little bit further. But ultimately, I will be sharing the slides as well, so you can review those at your own leisure as well. So we're going to begin with Lisa Norrish, and I do believe she's on because I double checked. I know I got your email, but I think she is on. Lisa, can you hear us, see us? Because I can see her on the board.
Right, hello, sorry.
Hi, there's Lisa.
Morning, Lisa.
Hello.
Hello. No, I had a little
Morning.
panic this morning, but it's all good. It was me
Oh.
being an absolute idiot, but I'm here.
Fabulous, excellent. So we have Lisa, and she will introduce herself in a bit as the BTEC Queen, and she is the head of T levels for health and education in early years at Kennett School. And she's going to really share her rich sort of overview of sort of managing and lessons learned from sort of managing multiple qualifications and routes as well. So I'm going to hand over to you, Lisa.
No, thank you. Yes, I am definitely, well, I was definitely a BTEC queen. I came into teaching sort of later on in life. Well, not later on in life, I was in my early 40s. And I was a real BTEC queen. I really liked how it caught our children and the children that needed it, you know, some of the children that needed that nurturing through, and then sort of went on then to university or straight into the workplace. So yes, I was definitely a BTEC queen. Sorry, do you move the slides?
Yes, thanks, Lisa. Sorry. Just give us a nod.
Okay, but now I have surprised myself and I am now a champion of T levels. I was really concerned initially about it coming on and us missing some of our children that we covered in BTEC. However, the health seems to be catching those ones that are a little bit brighter, if you like, because of the science and what have you. And then last year I brought education in early years to try and catch some of the children that health was missing for our cohort at a school. So we were we still are a pioneer in our area of doing it through a school. And as you can see, you know, we've done the foundation year, both Abigail and Megan, they did the foundation year, and now they're successfully completing T level in education early years. And I've just had some videos come back from them and I was looking at them, and their confidence, you can see it is so striking to see their confidence grow right from the start of the foundation to now. It's amazing, and they are smashing it. Okay. Thank you. So what I'm doing is we have obviously 2 T levels, education in early years and health. And that's been pretty hectic, as you can imagine, especially, you know, the term after Easter. Sorry, can you move me on?
Yes, of course.
Thank you. I have really sat and had a look at the challenge, especially with the 2. So with the multiple T levels, you know, we have such a varied content, and we have specialist knowledge. So what we have is I have a very small department. So I have 3 full-time members of staff. So I teach health and I have Danny teaching health. Then I have an ex early years educator that teaches education, then I teach that. And of course, I've had to learn very quickly as I've gone along. But, you know, it's working. And of course, now next year, well, from September, we'll have two year 12s and then 2 year 13s. So we'll have ESPs and OSs all going on at the same time. I really worked on our delivery, you know, so we all work together. So we all in and out of the classes, we can all teach. So from that perspective, it's really good. One of the major issues that I have had is SLT and other teachers do not know what we do. It doesn't matter how much you try and explain, because they know their minds don't work that way. You know, it's A levels and the old BTECs, that they don't understand what we do and what's involved, you know, with the ESP. So when we were doing the filming, my door's locked in the classroom, and it's, you know, people are still trying to get in, even though there's big signs. So I found that very difficult, I think, to manage. Okay.
Thank you.
So this year we've had 2 ESPs. We've had an ESP in health, ESP in education early years, and we had an occupational specialism for health. This has increased our workload for our teachers, you know, our group, but I'm very, very lucky with my department, because we all work together. You know, we everything that we do, lessons planning and things that we do together. So, and they're very, very supportive, and obviously want the best for the children, but there is a higher risk of burnout, and thank goodness my staff are with me, you know, for the future, one hopes. But I need to make sure the challenge is maintaining, it's like consistent teaching. So I'm trying to step back a little bit so I can just go and check to make sure that everybody's okay and things like that. And I think we have, because we were limited in our teaching staff, it's really difficult for me to do that. I mean, you know, through ESP, I mean, I was in my pajamas for a week, covered in blood, up and down off the floor. Which is fine. I haven't got an issue with it, but we are now thinking of different ways of doing the simulated patient, because it takes up so much of my time, whereas I could be doing something else with another ESP or another part of it. So we're looking at that. And obviously our biggest worry at all times is that we're getting it right for our children.
Okay. Thank you.
So as I've just said, really, we've done the cross-disciplinary teaching. So we are using all our staff together. Employing part-time, I've now got a clinical skills tutor, which is absolutely vital. And we've used our school matron, who is an ex-nurse anyway. And she has been just amazing, you know, coming in and doing that scenarios, the person-centered care. And she's amazing because she's been picking, you know, things up like with the children and making sure they're doing it. So that's really made a difference. And as I've said about collaborative planning and resource sharing already, so we have one drive, so everything is on there, so everybody has access to it, so we can see what we're doing. We collapse the classes together as well, every so often. So I could have all my year 12s together if we're doing first aid training, for example. Or what we also do is collapse every so often year 13 and year 12 health together, because then we are using the year 13 to help with peer marking, you know, presentations, marking, things like that. And then also we find in the year 12 are really looking up to the year 13. You know, they are seeing a difference coming through, you know, all the core knowledge and the exams and things, and also then looking at them, seeing them more in their workplaces, you know, being far more confident in the way they speak in with their OS and things. So that's been really, really good. I don't do it all the time. The first couple of times we did it, everybody hated it. And I just said, you know, suck it up, because this is the way that, you know, we're going to do things. And it has worked. And now they really, really enjoy it, especially if you bring biscuits. That helps.
It's a bit of bribery.
Oh, always, always. We've also looked more at technology, the use of online platforms, sorry, my voice going, for remote learning. We use that a lot. We have shared digital resources, lesson plans, assessments, as I've said. And when I was on the T-Level conference last Friday, I discovered about this chat box. So we can have our own chat box where we can upload the specification, so we can make everything aimed at our children. So it's all AI, obviously. I don't quite know how to do it yet, but we're on it, because I think that will make such a difference for our cohorts.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Any advice in the chat for Lisa around that? Please do share. Anybody that's already using it, I'm sure she would appreciate it.
I mean, it was just amazing. So with our small department, we're able to have our professional development to our multiple specialisms. So it's really our staff gain the new specialist qualifications where they can, and sort of mix. We are a very, very close department, so we are constantly working together, and also we are a very open door policy, so at any point one of us could be in another classroom, sort of sitting at the back working, or perhaps team teaching or joining in. And I had this on National Thank You Teacher Day. So one of my not my year 10s, one of Danny year 10s, she sent me appreciation thing, and she said, even though you're not our teacher, I love having you in the room when we were in T-Level. Thank you for being a funny addition to our lessons. So I'm really hoping that's a funny ha-ha and not a funny peculiar. But the children are used to us being in and out, which is great, because then it's a natural step for them to go into T-Levels, which is obviously, what we want. So we're trying to educate the younger ones to follow that path. Okay, thank you. This is our T-Level model. The first year it was very different, and I've had to change it through experience. So, excuse me.
No problem.
Straight away from week 1 of year 1, after the inductions, we have specialised lessons for ESP skills. So they are on the calendar, on the timetables as ESP skills. So they know in those lessons we're looking at those skills, practical centred care, communication, things like that. So they get used to using that straight from the beginning. My first year, we were doing it all together, and I felt they needed to have it separated to actually know what they're doing. So this is aiming at for your ESP. So that has worked for us. The other thing that has worked a lot for us is the first year I didn't have year 12 going out on work experience straight away, because I felt that there was so much core to go through. I needed to concentrate on that and then send them out. So they weren't really going out until the summer term, and that was wrong. I know people have had their modules doing that, because I copied somebody else's module of that as well. But it was wrong, because when the children are out earlier in their work placements, their confidence grows, their communication skill grows, and the difference that they do in their ESP is unrecognisable. So we have definitely got that. So obviously the first half term they're in, we have all the documentations ready and what have you, and then we get them out. I'm a great believer in care homes. I know some people don't like that side of things, but it is marvelous. They have transferable skills, their communication, because some of my children can't actually speak. They won't speak to anybody else, and they find that very, very difficult. But you have to speak in this with health. You have to speak with, the old people, what they want for dinner. They might have to repeat things, and it's really good for them building up that person-centered care. The other thing that we do is a scaffold mock, so which is amazing so it's like a walking talking mock. So the first time I don't film the scaffold mock, but we work together, we go through everything, then we lead on to a mock before the real thing. We also have our children, they do, we have a trainer comes in, so they first aid trained at work, which is brilliant, because then when I have matron coming to help with ESP and OS, our children, our year 13s, are on a rota to help cover matron's room, you know, for minor injuries and things like that. And also last week they were out on year 7 camp. Which was great. You know, they were so good, you know, helping with the inhalers, minor injuries, etc. So that is our T-level model that we are sticking to at the moment because it's working for us. Do you want to? Christmas, I had a major panic. How was I going to organise and coordinate 2 ESPs, an OS, and I was going to I wanted to do the scaffold mocks, so the walking talking mocks. I wanted to do the mocks. How was I going to get it all in? So our resources gave me that wonderful wall planner, and I was able to slot everything in. So I knew exactly what I wanted to do. So then I took it a step further and I made a massive spreadsheet. So I had all different pages for each month. This is just 1 week. So what was so good is we had the different colours for the different subjects, but what was really good is the children knew exactly what they were doing when they were doing it. I had this also up on the wall, up on the door, so the children knew all the time. It was emailed, but my staff, they knew what they were doing, so the stress was taken out of it, which was really good. And you know what, it really worked for us. The only thing is being that organized up front, but for me it was a much better way of doing it. Okay, do you want to?
Thank you. Lisa,
is...
we're just running a little bit over with you speaking your amazing insights. I just wondered if you would like to just sort of summarize overall sort of 2 or 3 key points.
Okay, can you just go back to the pages?
That one.
No, again, this one. Oh. This is what we take away with us. You know, embedding the exam questions, peer marking, as I've told you. We do coded marking with AO1, AO2, AO3 right from the very start. Our homework is centrally done for a lot of it. So our children are building up portfolios for diseases and illnesses, you know, so for health, which is leading them to the OS. And the simulated patient, like I said, we're looking for other people we have a governor that I've just bribed to come and help. Okay, I'll be quiet.
So a bit of bribery. No, it's really great. I think the biggest takeaway that you've managed to share, Lisa, and I asked you to share this, didn't I, when we were talking, is because you thought you were the only one that was having that issues, maybe communicating what your needs and wants are for the T level with your senior management. Yeah. And I want you to share that, because I'm sure plenty of people in the chat is about to share that they've had, and we did in our chat when we were speaking to Liz and Cheryl and things like that, that they were experiencing something similar. It's getting the SLTs to understand and higher as well what it is a T level is and what that impact is on the ground from a resource point of view. So I think it's great that you shared that.
Yeah, the time that you need, you know, per hour, per student, you know, yeah.
Fabulous. So thank you for sharing that. Anybody else that felt something similar, please share it in the chat so that Lisa knows that she's not the only one, because I told her that I told her she isn't. So brilliant. Thank you. I'm now going to pass over to Liz. So Liz is our Education Early Years lecturer from Callywith, and Callywith College, and she's going to share her passport to placement. Are you there? I did see you on the chat. Liz, are you here?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, I can hear you, Liz. Hi.
Hi, Liz. Hi. A few switching over of different things. So, morning, everybody.
Morning. Hi.
So I'm going to talk to you this morning about our passport to placement. We have actually only been doing T-levels for 1 year. Our first year, we have quite a small cohort. We're a small college in mid Cornwall, but we're kind of enjoying it, and we are enjoying what we do. We're enjoying the students that we work with, and we found that this passport to placement, which I have to say, hands up, is not was not originally mine. It's, I think the government published something very similar to it. We also went to something, we borrowed something from Wirral College. Thank you to them. But what I'm going to talk about is how we use that passport to placement, the booklet, how we've used the booklet with our students, and how we've grown lessons around that and made lessons around it so that students go straight into placement and they have the resilience to stick with it. That's kind of what I'm going to talk about this morning. We do early years here. We do the education in early years. But I think the actual booklet, the passport to placement, would work for any of the T levels. It's just got to be amended to suit whatever it is that you're doing. We are a new college. We've only been around for about 7 years. We've just finished our first year of 17 students. We started with 19 and we've now got 17. We think for a first year for a very small college, that's pretty cool. We have been doing the CPLD BTEC before this. So the 750 hours is not alien to us at all. We've got fantastic connections within the industry because I'm from the industry, my colleague is from the industry, and so on. And that obviously really works because we've got a lot of networking experience behind us. But when we started with our first cohort, we felt that they were really quite young. Now, I know they're 16, but they seemed really young. We've had cohorts where, you know, and they are mainly made up of girls. We have boys, but they are mainly girls, and the girls seemed very grown up. But this cohort in particular seemed quite young in age, and I think that's possibly due to COVID. They didn't necessarily seem that confident, so we felt that we needed very much to prepare them for what was about to happen, because we deliver our T-level 3 days a week in college, and they are full days, not really any frees, and then 2 days a week in placement from as soon as we can get them going. So it's a full week. We do that when we interview them in the very beginning. We make sure that they're aware of the fact that this is like no other course. It is very full on. So what we did was we started the passport to placement. And like I said, it wasn't our original idea, but we found that the simplicity of the document worked really, really well and could work for any T-level. And it's about all those little nuances that students may have, all those fears, all those anxieties, all those things that they're worried about are covered in this. But not only are they covered, they also talk about if you needed to report something, what would you do? If you were in a situation where you didn't know who to speak to, who would you speak to? All those things that they have those concerns over. So we thought this was an excellent way to just sort of do it step by step. So we entered into our passport to placement, and we called it our launch pad. Next slide, that's the one. And what is it? Well, on the next slide, please. It is just that. It is a booklet which the students will go through as we go through a whole range of different lessons with them. The booklet talks to the students as if it's written by other students that have gone through the same thing. And I think that's quite nice. They may think, oh, that's a bit cheesy, but actually they do find that some of the questions that are being raised by these students in the booklet are the ones that they're wanting to ask as well. They also have in it a fictional manager of an early years setting who talks to them as well throughout the booklet. And it just talks about some of those things that scare them. Now we live in the middle of Cornwall, and our catchment area is sort of like 60 miles in either direction. It is huge, and we are traveling to schools and seeing them in placement, which are miles and miles away, 45, 50 miles away. And so we can't know every setting, but we try to get to know them as quickly as possible. We actually have done a provider breakfast, but that's for another session. So the booklet and the lessons work hand in hand, and there are tasks within the booklet that we discuss in the lessons and have full discussions with our students, and they're given scenarios and so on, and it kind of brings to life placement before they go. Well, that's the aim anyway. What we're doing is we're trying to introduce students to the idea that this may happen or this may go wrong, but that's okay. What would you do in this scenario? How would you deal with this situation? On the morning of your first placement day, what time are you going to get up? And there is an entire timetable for them to look at and say, well, I get up at 6. That's not going to happen, is it? I get up at 7, and I've looked up the bus timetables, and I need to get on the bus at 7:45. It takes me 15 minutes to walk there, so I need to leave my house at 7:30. And it literally is as simplistic as that. But that really helps, because what we do is we do a lot of conversation about, when you go in, there's going to be lots of children, and they're all going to they're going to love you, and they're going to be climbing all over you, and they're going to, in a nursery, they love seeing a new face, and they're going to ask you what your name is and so on. And that's the bit that happens whatever. It's the bit before they get there that we think that they were worried about. So the booklet and the lessons work together to give them a systematic plan before they start. Next slide, please. So it starts with a self-assessment, and they have to self-assess their confidence and their own ability in things like the skills and experience they have had before, like work experience maybe, but some may not have ever had it. And you will find that quite a lot of students that you ask don't have a lot of confidence in it, especially if they haven't done work experience. This, although we're asking them and telling them it's a marvelous thing for them to do, it's also really good for us, because we instantly see the students that we think possibly are going to be the ones that struggle because they don't have the confidence. You pick up on those that you can see are going to be nervous, and those that are too exuberant as well. Those that they think, oh, I've done work experience for 2 weeks, I'm going to be fine. Those that probably, I say it in there, knock down a peg or two, and I don't mean that in a nasty way, but there are some that always come across a bit too confident, and when they get into placement, they're the ones that probably have the biggest wobble. So it's a really good way, when you do this self-assessment right at the very beginning, of looking at your cohort and going, okay, this one might need some extra support. This one's going to be fine. Okay, this one might have a wobble later on because they've gone in too confident and they've had that sort of knocked out of them a little bit. So yeah, we use the self-assessment in a lot of ways, but it's good for them as well, because they then can pick up on the things that they know are going to be their own challenges. They're already looking at themselves as professionals and what things they might need to work on. So next slide, please. So this slide here shows the type of thing that is in the booklet. It's very, very positive. It's going to be fantastic. You're going to have the opportunity to immerse yourself in the daily routine and so on. And it is very, very positive. And this is a young chap that's already in placement and has been doing it for a little while. So it is very positive. And although they may go, well, it's a bit cringy, because they do, it is that, but also it is their voices. It is supposed to be a bit like their own voices. We talk about the things that could go wrong, like, arriving late, not knowing how to answer the children's questions. We talk about things like disclosures. And although this is very early years based, it could be used for any T level, because there could be all sorts of things, health and safety wise and so on. So we talk about the things that might happen. Next slide, please. There's quite a lot of videos throughout it, and we use the videos in our lessons, but there are also links within the booklet as well, so they can go back to them. But we use the videos throughout because we find that videos are a really good way to start conversations. So we use the videos, we have conversations about what happened in them, what they could do, what they would do differently, and so on. It's just videos sometimes are a different way to access particular children, I think. Okay, next slide. Now, there are lots of tasks within the booklet, and lots of tasks that they have to complete. And we, through the lessons, we give them time to do that, because it's very much the passports placement is not just a booklet, it is an entire plan, if you like. They have targets to write and set, they have career plans to consider, which is really nice, because if you do that right at the very beginning of term, which is what we did it right at the very beginning, and their career plans you can go back to then at the end of the second year, because undoubtedly they will either firm up their career plans or will change it completely. There's health and safety to think about, there's research to do, and the research is not too heavy, but it's a really good start if they haven't done a lot of research before, because we know we're going to have to research when we start teaching, and they're going to have to do a lot more research. So it's quite nice to have a little bit around placement. And like I said, one of the tasks is to just write down their entire morning breakdown. You know, I get up at this time, I get the bus at this time, and so on. Because they haven't factored in the fact that, you know, you normally get on the college bus at this time. Well, our placement students, because of the geography of where they are, they may not get a bus to placement. They may just, they may get a bus to placement, but it may not be the bus that they get to college. And so you can't just rely on the fact, well, I normally get my bus at 7:30. They may be looking at other bus routes and so on. Okay, next slide, please. So this is the type of slide that we did as part of our passport to placement, thinking about the jobs that they could be asked to do and those they shouldn't be asked to do, because it's really important for us as a college and for our students is that they know that sometimes they may be asked to do things which actually they're not prepared to do, they're not qualified to do, they aren't ready to do. You know, changing nappies. If somebody says to you, go and change a nappy, and you've never done that before, that can be really, really frightening. And actually they have the right to turn around and say no, because each setting has a different set of rules and around things like changing. They're often asked to do snack, and they're often asked to do snack before they've had any food hygiene training, and they're asked to do snack before anybody's actually shown them how to do things like cut grapes long ways. You know, it's really simple, really, really simple things, but we need to make them confident enough to turn around and say, I actually don't know how to do that correctly, could you show me? And that for 16-year-olds is really, really hard. You need to have them with confidence so they can do that. So we do a little bit about, is this your role? Is it not your role? How do you feel about placement now that you know that some things may not be your role, and so on? I'm trying to be quick, Tracy. Am I on time? Oh, I can't hear you.
Oh, you're on mute, Tracy.
Probably 2 more minutes.
2 more minutes. Oh, okay. All right, I'll go really fast. So what we did was we carried the launch pad out for a week before all the students went out on placement. And we're never doing that again, because that was a massive mistake. We did everything in 1 week, and they pretty much had no other lessons because they're in with me 3 days a week. And we did the lessons and the booklets, and they felt that was far too pressurized. They were already anxious about going out to placement, and then we just heaped a whole load more pressure on them by thinking about it for 3 days in a row. So we won't be doing that again. But what we did do is we went back to it and we asked them how they felt about things. And they gave us some feedback. Next slide, please. We are now, after learning never to do it like that, we're now going to do it 1 day a week from the minute they start, really, because they tend to start with us in placement around October half term, something like that. So we should have enough time to deliver everything from September to October, and we're going to do it 1 day a week, drip feeding it in to just keep building that resilience. Next slide, please. So what we've got over the next few slides is how they found it, because we asked them after they'd been out in placement for a few weeks. We became part of a bigger project which was part of a research project about resilience. So we use this as a really good way of getting us some data. They were grateful to have the chance to explore their concerns. They liked the students in the booklet as a whole. They liked the fact that they didn't feel silly in front of others with questions like, I don't know where the bus stops and stuff like that. I don't know where the front door is. That's a really common one. I don't know how to get into the school itself. So, you know, they liked those ideas. Next slide, please. And you can see that actually it really did help. We had 19 students at the time. 15 of them said, yes, they did feel prepared for placement, which I think is great. Next slide. Do you feel Kenilworth College supported you going into placement? 100% yes. Okay, it's a small catchment, but okay. But, you know, they did. How did we feel? How did they feel that they did that? Well, we encouraged them. They felt that it was calming. It was supportive. It was explained to us. And there's one on there which says Slay Queen, which is obviously about myself. So I am the queen, slaying it. Next slide, please. On reflection of the Passport to Placement Week, do you feel it supported your resilience? 15 of them said yes to this. And, you know, I can't say any more than that. It really did seem to work for them. And this was my assessor, Ellen, who will be watching this later. She did this section with them. And, you know, yes, there were things that they said were too much all at once. But overall, they said in the week that we did it, oh my God, that was horrendous. 2 or 3 weeks into placement, and all of a sudden they can see the benefits of that. And they're saying, you know, reflecting on it, I think it really did help. Okay, next slide, please. Then we moved on to the paperwork that the assessor would be going through on their visits. And I'm not going to go through that. But our assessor is fantastic and she could probably talk through certain things. But they start with this document here, which is, well, we call it the PEP, which is a bit of a CPLD BTEC throwback. But the next slide, if you can just move on to the next slide, just wanted to show you, because we do something, it's called a pink and white form, because it used to be pink and white, but now it's just white. But during the sessions, we talked through how we could record placement times, because we're little and we couldn't afford some of the programs like Navigate and so on. It was just kind of a bit out of our reach for the number of students that we had. So we use these forms here. And the good thing about these forms is it gives us the hours. It has to be signed by placement. We gather them in, we plot them all, but also we get some notes from the supervisor in the setting. They could be, you know, can you give us a call, or they're doing fantastically well. But we obviously do the reviews and we have our assessor going out there all the time. But we quite like this form here. We quite like it. It's actually A5. You get 2 on an A4 sheet and it goes alongside their hours recording, but it gives the opportunity for the setting to say something. It gives the opportunity for the student to write something if they want to just record any snapshot and moments that have been particularly marvelous. And I think I'm possibly done.
Yes, well done. Very, very good. Well done. So fantastic. It was really interesting. I think it's nice for people to learn about a smaller setting, because I think so often it's a larger setting. Hasvia, you got a question? I'm so sorry if I said your name wrong. I think I said it with a Spanish accent because that's just a language that I learned as a second language. Do you have a question?
No, apologies, I didn't. I was just going to react with a clap to say thank you. That was so useful.
No.
Thank
brilliant.
you.
Thank you. Excellent.
I'm happy to send it out to anybody, but if you want to email me to ask for that, my email address will be in there, because you know, you're welcome to the lessons, you're welcome to the booklet, because actually, even if we all share a lot of we share a lot of resources all of the time, but then we do go and make them our own. So I'm not precious about it at all. I just think that talking to them about any of their concerns is also right at the very beginning. It's just an excellent way to make relationships with them, because you know they're brand new here and we have to grow those relationships so they can come to us with any concerns that they have. So you know, it's a really good way to get to know them as well.
Brilliant. And is that offer open as well for any health practitioners should they want to look exploring of how they could adapt it to the health?
Yeah, anybody.
Fabulous.
What I would
Thank
ask
you.
though is if you could actually email me and ask for it so I can send it out in one go. That would be amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks,
I'll make
Liz.
sure you
That's
email
brilliant.
Vivian. Thank you. So what we're going to do is, just for time, Alison, we're going to, Alison shared some really great ideas for science around industry placement. I haven't been able to have a look at my attendance to see even if our signs are up yet because I'm sharing my screen. I don't know, Gemma, if you can see our 3 signs, people, if anybody's here, but we will share obviously those slides after. But Alison is going to pick up some great innovation stuff that I do want her to share. Just for those providers, we've got team leaders and CMs that might be on and thinking, well, we're thinking about doing T-level science, or we are also running T-level science. She has got some really great insights on who she has been working with recently to really support industry and upskilling. So we'll come back to Alison. I'm going to just quickly go past all these. Right, and I'm going to move to Cheryl. So over to Cheryl, who is our Health T-level lead for North Hertfordshire College. Thank you, Cheryl.
Morning.
Morning.
Yes, so very similar to some of the rest of you. I'd been teaching BTEC for seems like centuries. Loved BTEC. We always did the 2-year extended diploma with the health pathway. And again, we always encouraged our students to do about 300 to 350 hours placement. So we'd always had all of those contacts. Was a little bit nervous, was a little bit worried, obviously, moving into T-levels. But again, absolutely love them. Yeah, just amazing. So really, really enjoy teaching them. And all of our experiences that our students are now having are just mind-blowing, basically. Did you want to go on to the next slide?
Brilliant, thank you.
So,
do you want me to? Is that the right one?
Yeah. So we sort of panicked in a way, I suppose, and we had all these amazing contacts for BTEC, and we sort of like went, oh my goodness, you know, we're doing T-levels and everyone has to go into clinical placements. And luckily I had sort of done the prep really early, about a year in advance of us starting. I'd got into contact with our local NHS hospital and had spoken to them, and we'd had loads and loads of meetings. Ruth had come in and met with us on several occasions, and we had this lovely plan and all these amazing ideas for what they were going to do at the local hospital, and we sort of like binned ridiculously all our other placements that we'd always used and just left those for our level 2 learners to use. Do you want to go to the next slide, please?
Yeah, so this is about to play a video, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, that's
introduce
right.
it?
Yeah, so just a little video. So we were asked to do a video about the Care Academy, and all the learners in it, or the learners that are in it, and Ruth that's in it, are obviously our T-level learners. So although officially it was for the Care Academy, it is all about T-level.
Brilliant, thank you. It's thinking about it. It will play.
Health and social care are 2 of our key strategic priority areas, with about 400 students across our full-time programs and our apprenticeships, and that represents a really key significant pipeline for the NHS. And this Care Academy programme, I think, is just a brilliant example of collaboration and actually what can happen when a like-minded employer and a really good college come together.
The business and workforce elements of this were looking to see whether we could develop a pipeline to bring young people into the NHS.
So the collaboration is really designed to prepare students for that bridge between education and employment. We really wanted to focus on developing a skilled workforce, so the T levels really are structured around that kind of enhanced experience, merging a traditional vocational study programme at level 3 with an apprenticeship, so they get the best of both worlds.
So the students are doing the T-level adult nursing pathway. They have to complete at least 315 hours in their industry placements. So they've been going to the Lister Hospital. They did quite an extensive induction programme.
Any T-level student that's done an industry placement with us will be given the opportunity to have an interview for a role within the area of their choice.
We do say to students at open events and beyond that everything we do here is really around helping them to be successful in their careers.
What makes a good placement is just making me feel welcome and actually asking what I feel comfortable in doing.
Before placement, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but since I've been doing placement, I now realise that I want to go into wound management.
To do an apprenticeship into midwifery.
Collaboration is a cornerstone of how we want to work with our employers and our stakeholders, and this Care Academy programme is a brilliant example of that. At the heart of that collaboration is about curriculum design and ensuring that what we offer our students in the college in terms of practical skills development, theory and knowledge acquisition meets the needs of the health and care sector. The college has invested over £1 million in state-of-the-art industry standard resources, and through the experiences they get in the college, the industry placements they get out in the workplace, I really think our students are brilliantly prepared for their next steps.
Yes, so what we sort of realised...
This is for yeah, I'm going to email it as because
there we go. There you go, Cheryl. Thank you.
Thanks. So what we sort of realised at the end of year one, we'd decided that we only had 13 in our first cohort of health T levels. So what we decided was that they were going to go to the Lister Hospital. We then had lots of different things happen. Ruth was off sick for a while. Then we had different strikes. There were different emergencies at the hospital. So their placement was getting pushed back more and more and more. So what we looked at then was how could the learners actually learn those soft skills before they actually went out into those placements, because they sort of had their placement delayed a little bit. And then when they did go out, they were sort of quite panicky about getting their hours. So we then decided we would start looking at other ways that we could support them. Did you want to move on? Yes, so we invited speakers in to do masterclasses. We had the moving and handling trainer from the local hospital. He came in. We also asked Molly, who is in charge of the Forget Me Not project at our local hospital, which is going in and supporting anyone that is shown to have any level of dementia possibly, or just is a little bit lonely on the general wards, and needs someone just to sit there and chat to or support them for a little few hours every week. So we put all of those things back in place, all the ones that we'd thought we were going to scrap. We put them all back in place so they could go into care settings and into the hospital and do different little roles. So as then they could move on to their sort of more clinical role if they wanted to later on. Thank you. So what we really then realised, and now that we've done year 2 as well, and we've gone through all of the various tasks, is we realised that, you know, we don't need to panic. They don't all need to be in amazing placements. If, like Louise that was talking in the video, she was in the urgent treatment centre, she was helping deal with people that had had amputations or people that had come in with massive infections and pressure sores from different places. She would quite often message me and say, oh, I've been doing, you know, maggot therapy today, and I've been dealing with the tea bags, and she, you know, oh, we've had someone in that's had their leg amputated. She was absolutely on it. She loved the gone down. She loved the gorier the better. But you know, some of them just loved being in a normal ward, supporting people, helping them with their cup of tea, chatting to them. So again, we looked at how in those questions for the task 3, you know, it isn't have you done all of these things in placement? It is, you know, have you learnt about them? What are your experiences, and have you done them? So the masterclasses really supported that, and all of the different role plays. You can see we're lucky enough to have the amazing ward and the independent living flat. So we'd done lots and lots of role plays, and like I say, we'd had various people coming in and talking to them about different subjects.
Wonderful. That's it. So any questions for Cheryl? Don't worry if you can't think of any at the moment. We will have a panel at the end. So if you're thinking, oh, actually, ask Cheryl, that's the thing. If you do think of something which would go along, put it in chat, and Cheryl will happily answer in the chat as well. Same for any of our speakers today. If you've got any questions, please feel free to share them in the chat, and we either pick them up as we go along, or if we don't pick them up, we'll pick them up in the panel at the end. That was really wonderful, Cheryl. Very positive and very enthusiastic. I can see how you were rubbing off your students. I imagine you very much rub off for your students. So thank you for sharing. That was really insightful. No problem. Thank you. I'm now going to move on to Kirsty O'Neill from Bright Horizons. So Kirsty is an early careers manager at Bright Horizons UK, and I noticed that she managed to get on earlier. I'm hoping that if your mic and everything is working. Are you there, Kirsty? I'm not sure if you're.
I know Kirsty did join before.
She's still
Tracy,
there.
Oh yes.
I'm not sure if are you having any issues with your mic, Kirsty?
I am.
Ah, there you go.
We
There you
Sorry,
are.
my sound was turned down. Give me 1 second. I was just working away in the background. So sorry about that.
Okay.
I don't know if you gave a little bit of an introduction into myself, but my name's Kirsty. I am the Early Careers Manager at Bright Horizons. I've worked for Bright Horizons 6 years this time, but I've worked for us on a couple of different occasions. I was one of our practitioners in our nurseries. I was working for a smaller company that then got bought by Bright Horizons. And then at another point, I was working for a bigger company, a bigger early years provider of about 100 nurseries over in Australia. That also bought Bright Horizons. So I say wherever I am, I'm destined to work for this company. So I'm going to talk to you guys about some of the lessons that we've learned from being a T-level ambassador. So Bright Horizons, for those of you that don't know us, a lot of you have probably seen our logo or worked with us. So we're passionate about enriching the lives of children and families. We've been operating since 1986, so we've got a wealth of experience within the sector. We've got a network of 300 nurseries in this country, but we are, like I said, we are much bigger on a global scale. We've got nearly 1,200 nurseries nearby around the world is what I meant to say there. So we're in India, we're in the Netherlands, we're in Australia, and we're in America, and that's where we first started. So we are an American company. We've been voted a great place to work by the Great Place to Work institution, and that's been every year since 2006. So that's something we're really, really proud of, and that's a great place to work for women as well. All of our nurseries are really, really different. Our smallest nursery is in London, and that hosts 30 children. Our largest nursery is also just outside of London in Kent, and that hosts 186 children. So I always say to the students, it's really, about finding the right nursery for you, because what is exciting, and with over 10 rooms and lots of children, could be great for some and be overwhelming for others. All of the nurseries are designed really, really differently. We buy nurseries and we turn them into Bright Horizons centres, but we also, make purpose-built centres to be Bright Horizons. We've got our own Bright Beginnings curriculum. So when the students join us, we teach them a little bit about that, so they get to know that side of things as well, and the way that we do our programming and planning. And we've also got our own charity. So for those those of you that don't know, we've got Bright Horizons, our network of nurseries, and we've also operate something called the Bright Horizons Foundation for Children. So that's not just for the children in our nurseries. We like to say, we're here for all children. So children that might be accessing a place like a hospice or a police station or a hospital. It could be any type of environment where children might be visiting. It might be a bit traumatic for them. We set up a places called Bright Spaces in those buildings. So we have like a room that we keep well resourced with toys, with things for the children to access through a difficult time. So that is something that we get colleges involved with as well, in terms of doing like fundraising and things. So I think it's always worth mentioning that. But that is our introduction. If we can go to the next slide, please. So as of 2023, we became a T-level ambassador. So we joined the ambassador network, and I hadn't heard of T-levels when I first started doing this. So it was a really good way to kind of build our knowledge and get to see how we can host the best placements possible. So in 2023, we hosted a really small cohort of students on placement. So we had 11 students out on placement. In 2024, we hosted 29 students out on placement. So it increased a little bit. And this year we've had 53 students out on placement. So we're hoping that next year we can have 70 T-level students out on placement in Bright Horizons nurseries. Our student placement numbers are a lot higher than that. It averages about 200 upwards per year. But it's just, these are the specific T-level numbers. So if any of you want to send your students to us, you're more than welcome. So this is just the outcomes from this year. So I think it's really interesting to kind of reflect. Obviously, we're not really at the end of, well, I guess we're coming to the end of the academic year. So there's still work to be done. So these numbers might slightly change. Last year in 2024, we hired 22 of the T-level students that came on placement with us, which was really something we were really, really pleased with. This year, we've hired 9.26 of those 53 students. We've had some leave due to sector changes. They found that early years has not been for them, and that was about 3%. We've had people leave for personal reasons. That was 1%. And then the other area that they left for was to go on to apprenticeships. Now, I might add that was not onto our apprenticeship program. We want people to, finish their course and then come and join us. Whenever we have had students approach us, we've sat down with the parents, and not necessarily the parents, but the colleges, and they've sat down with the parents, and we've all had conversations about, what's best for the student and how best we can get them to the end of their T-level, and then they can come and join us if that's something we want to do. That percentage is more from going off and seeking an apprenticeship elsewhere. If we can go on to the next slide, please. So what we do each quarter is that we call our students and we see how they're getting on, just because we know that when they're out on placement, they might not always feel comfortable sharing how it's really going or how they're really feeling with their mentor or their nursery manager, even though they do check in as well. So we like to get feedback from them, and we ask them to rate our placements from like a 1 to 10. And I'm happy to say that all the T-level students that we've had have come back and said they're an 8 and above, which is really, really nice to hear. We always want it to be a 10, but we appreciate that can't always be the case. There have definitely been, lots of really positive feedback from our managers who we survey as well, and just ask them, how their students are getting on. And they've said that they've had some really outstanding students. There's been a lot of quality in practice and the activities and the things that they're doing. Comments about the knowledge, that they're coming with from the theoretical side of the T-level and the things that they're learning as well, which is really, really great. We have had, some hiccups along the way, I think, especially when we were first starting. So there's been a real education piece with our managers, because we've got 300 managers across the country and we're, offering those T-level placements. It is a case of sitting down with them and educating them every time they bring on a new T-level student. If they haven't had a T-level student before, some of them are obviously that bit more confident now, where they've been doing it for a couple of years. So it's little things, I always say, like making sure that they've got access to all the policies and procedures when they first start is really, really key. Making sure that they have a really thorough induction. So our managers sit down with them and they do an induction on site. But we also, our early careers team, which is myself and my team, we sit down and we do a virtual induction with them at the beginning. So it's an after hours evening kind of session where lots of students can join. point, and we talk them through, you know, what to expect whilst they're out on placement, who to contact if they have any problems, things like that. So that's quite good as well. Other things, it was something that I think one of your last speakers touched on was, you know, is it their role and what is it that they should or shouldn't be doing? All of our placement students aren't able to serve food at the beginning. They're not able to change nappies either. That's something that comes much further down the line. And the reason being is because we don't get our new staff to do that either. I guess it's a part of, you know, that key approach with like key person approach with the children as well. You know, it's the key person that usually does all of those personal care routines and things like that. But it also, you know, it helps the students settle in that bit more. They necessarily don't need to be being asked to do those things straight away. So it's all about, you know, just making sure that they've got a nice start to the journey. If we can go on to the next slide, please. This was just a T-level testimonial from one of our students. So in their first month, talking a little bit about the induction that they had, which was really positive. I've kind of rambled on about that in the last slide, but it's good to know, I guess, that when you are sending students to us, that they really will have hopefully a great start to when they're joining us. And I think that's something that, you know, comes when you're looking at different employers and who you're going to work with and who you're going to place these students with. It's really important that they are making sure that they have that start. We offer resource packs as well, which is something new that's coming from September. And that is basically going to be a little bit like what you were talking about in terms of the passport to placement, but something that you're providing as a college, something that we're providing and that we have provided throughout the years, like welcome packs. So it tells them where to go, what to, you know, expect from their interview process when they join us, things like that, so they're not so nervous when they're, you know, coming through those stages, those initial starting stages. But the resource packs talk about things like mental health, talk about, you know, where to access wellbeing ambassadors within the nurseries. There's lots of blogs on mindfulness and things like that, because it can be quite a stressful, you know, experience starting a new placement or going for an interview when you've never actually, you know, done that before. So our student placement process consists of an application form. So there's a couple of ways that we do things and work with colleges. So sometimes we go out and we do like a workshop session, and in that session we get the students to fill out the student application form if they want to come on and do placement with us. They might send it in via our website. They might go on there and see our student placement email and send it over to us that way. Or work placement coordinators might, you know, collect those documents and then send them to us. So that's a couple of different ways that you can sign up to do a placement with us. We always schedule an interview. So that's, you know, I think it's a really important part of the experience for all students. I think every student should go for an interview. They're interviewing us as much as, you know, we're interviewing them. They've got to make sure it's the right placement for them. And it gives them a chance to really see the setting before they've even stepped foot in the door. So that the room trial piece of the interview, which carries on straight after the interview, is just time spent in each room just to get to know the team, get to know the children. We do our compliance checks, so we like to have, you know, a reference from the colleges just to confirm that they are, you know, for safeguarding purposes, studying on that course. We like to have an enhanced DBS check, and there's a couple of other forms that they have to complete as well, including a health declaration, just to make sure that, you know, we're able to support them if there are any additional needs or things there. So our process can seem quite thorough, but I think it is, you know, in the best interest of both the college, our nurseries, and the students as well. So yeah, it's always good to check what the process is like with different employers too. If you want to go on to the next slide, sorry.
It's thinking about it. It's going, I don't want to show you, students. There you go, it's caught up. There you go.
Speeding on ahead. So these are just some of our students of the month. So we do a monthly student of the month celebration. So we like to reward them with a certificate, with some vouchers or some flowers or whatever, you know, our managers are happy to do. So it's a really nice way just to celebrate them for their hard work. So whenever they do, you know, come forward, we share that with the colleges as well. And we would just, yeah, really love to celebrate the students that we have out on placement with us. So yeah, just thought I'd add those photos in there. I always encourage everybody to follow us on social media, on our careers page, especially. You know, there's not just jobs being plastered on there. There's CV writing tips and interview writing tips. We provide videos to students with those as well, and they're not just applicable to Bright Horizons nurseries. They're really applicable to all nurseries and all interview processes. So I would really encourage you guys to have a look at that as well. So they're on our website. I can put the links in the chat too. We also do workshops, which is something that, you know, is great as well, because it can actually count to it's only an hour or two, but it can count towards their hours of placement as well. So we work with lots of colleges across the country, and, you know, they ask us to come in and do sessions. We sometimes do quite a few for the same college throughout the year, and that might be, you know, on Makaton, it might be on CV writing and interviewing. It could be lots of different things, whatever you guys want us to, you know, really hone in on and come in from that employer perspective. We've done one recently on safeguarding, on emotional well-being and behaviour in practice. So if there's anything, you know, and they're completely free of charge, they're really interactive. If there's anything you want us to come in and talk about, we are more than happy to do that. So I'll pop my email address in the chat as well. And if anybody wants to contact me for that, thank you so much.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Kirsty. That was really great. I put in the chat, you know, if you don't have a Bright Horizons like near you as one of your employer options, what you've shared is a really good expectations and processes that they should be exploring with the employer that they're working with. I think it sets a really good standard, which is really key and really nice to share. And I do think I was listening to you talk about like Makaton and communication methods and things like that. I was just thinking, oh, is it care of your children and young people? And I know it's the pediatric part of the Health OS, but I think your session around Makaton and communicating with children, that would work so well even for a health workshop. So I think that was brilliant. Thank you very much.
No, thank you for having me. Enjoy the rest of the set. I'll pop the CV writing tips in there as well, with my email address in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you very
Kirsty.
much. Cheers. Right, Alison, you have waited very patiently. Thank you very much. So I'm going to hand over to Dr. Alison Ackroyd, and she is hi, morning. She's a T-level science lecturer and many other things, many things. Claretta, I've lost your bio further up in the PowerPoint, but I will share a bio. And Alison has been here really since the beginning of the journey, haven't you? And for this session, you are going to share, I think it's our one person is Victor, I think is our science person on here, but I think it's really engaging and interesting work that you're doing with Amgen Biotech Experience that I think everybody will really enjoy hearing about. So thank you.
Thanks, Alison.
Introduction. I'm Alison. We're just about to go on to our 5th cohort of T-level science students. I'm going to talk about a programme today, which obviously I use in science, but there are some real direct parallels to T-level health, which you hopefully will see towards the end. So it's not just for science only. You could use it on a T-level health programme, or actually as a kind of way of just adding a bit of kind of science capital to your students for what's happening ahead in the NHS. Can I have the next slide, please? The Amgen Biotech Experience. Amgen is an American biopharmaceutical company, and as part of their kind of corporate responsibility program, they have a worldwide program that facilitates training and delivery of resources that help students understand genetics and genomics. Next slide, please. Amgen Biotech Experience program involved? Well, it's a lab-based biotechnology curriculum. It's to do with medicines primarily. It is centered on developing not only teachers, but technicians. There is a free kit loan that includes the consumables as well. And anything to do with DNA is really, really expensive. So this is all free. It's too good to be true in some ways. Extensive teacher support, and it's free to all schools. Okay, next slide. idea of the kind of international network of philanthropy that Amgen operates. And you can see there's quite a high density in Europe and also in North America. And if we go to the next slide, I'm going to kind of drill down to the UK. So the red kind of the hubs in the UK. So there's one in Hull, there's one in Norwich, one in Cambridge, one in Hertfordshire, and little old us down in Kent. And the blues are kind of representative of some of the schools and colleges that are involved. I have to say there's so much available in terms of science from industry in the UK for science. And, you know, if you want to find out more about some of the stuff that I use, because this is only a small bit, then please do message me. Next slide, please. And the whole program is around drug discovery. So this is around from the very early stages of R&D to manufacturing. You've got the legal issues, which is really covers kind of core A stuff, and also the ethical issues that come in with things like clinical affairs and regulatory affairs, which are directly relevant to T-level health, and also patient use, really what happens at the end, and this idea of, you know, reporting things when things go wrong. Next slide, please. I'm talking a little bit about science here, but I'll try and kind of interpolate with some T-level health references. So it covers core and occupational specialism, knowledge, skills, and behaviours. So for T-level health and science, this is the DNA bit. This is the biological molecules, the genetics, genomics. But there's a direct relationship as well towards epidemiology and this use of big data and DNA to track infectious diseases. For the science sector, read the health sector. Ethics, for the T-level health audience, we're talking about good clinical practice because you have to follow quite detailed SOPs, and that translates across the board in T-level. Scientific methodology and also experimental techniques. Next slide, please. My kind of role, I've set up a hub at Mid-Kent, and what I've been trying to do is, you know, go along the lines of SOPs and develop industry ready skills. This sort of activity shows a 96 ml plate, which is used a lot in diagnostics and growing, you know, for DNA analysis. All those kind of DNA profiling programs you see on TV where you're looking at your ancestry involve stuff like this. They don't always make pretty patterns, but we use this particular I'm looking for here. It's you're making sun catchers essentially to practice pipetting skills and following SOPs. And we use this in a number of ways. We can use this in class. We can use this to peer review competencies. We use it for outreach as well to really make science more accessible to all audiences. Next slide, please. Is the kit. What you can see on this picture here is a technique called gel electrophoresis, which is used to separate tiny pieces of DNA. It's used extensively in diagnostics for health, or forensics, and obviously in industry for research. The great thing about these practicals is that they're really quick to run, and students can see the process in action because the DNA is fluorescently labelled. And there are lots of applications that you can do with this. Once the teachers and technicians have been on the course, they can borrow the kit for 2 to 3 weeks, depending on availability. And all the consumables come with that. And obviously there's advice on hand. So there's no outlay. And what I should say as well, the CPD is free. If you're a new school, you receive a payment of £300 to contribute towards cost of attending. Next slide, please. This is a slide that kind of outlines the practicals that we do. Maybe a little bit sciencey, but what I'm trying to get over with this slide is that there are lots of practicals that you can do, and there are about seven kind of labs that you can do. The first course that we offer is manipulating DNA in the classroom. For us, it's a one-day face-to-face course. In other centres, sometimes it's 2 days. It depends on the kit that they've got, but we've got the most modern kit. But there's all sorts of things that you can do. You may pick out the word PCR there. You can get to do some PCR. And that means if you go on the course, you can borrow a PCR machine and do something that is really, really cutting edge diagnostics in health and science. Next slide, please. I'm just going to finish up with some resources, which are takeaways for all of you. Amgen has extensive resources on its main US site. There's such fun things here to do. So, you don't have to operate at a very high level of science teaching to do these, because there are resources here that relate to health and science. And they're just such fun. There's quite a good practical on analysing dog drool to see which dog has been the perpetrator of, I don't know, stealing the tasty snack in the kitchen. But lots of great stuff there. And these resources are curated and developed by teachers across the world. So they're from people that are using these really at the pit face. Next slide, please. And then alongside this, this is a great site for everyone as well. This is Lab Exchange. This is overseen by Harvard, but it's actually sponsored by Amgen. And these have lots of videos and interactives and simulations that you can use to flip your learning, if you like, to get students using pieces of equipment that perhaps they wouldn't be able to do in the lab because of availability, or just get them prepared for things. Lots of careers advice on there, and again, lots of direct relationships to not only science but health. And next slide. So why have I kind of pitched this not only at science but health? If you haven't already seen this site, this has been going for a long while. This is the NHS Genomics Education Programme. This is targeted at all healthcare professionals. There are fantastic educational resources on here. But, we're going towards, we are in this age of personalised medicine, where you're going to be looking not only at your lifestyle and risks, but your inherited risks, and ways of reducing those risks to stop you from developing those chronic diseases that most of us succumb to in older age. And I think it's really important, really just from a citizen science point of view, that we are all aware of how the NHS is training, that we are aware of what DNA can do for us, and dispel some of the myths that come along with it. I think I'm almost at the end. We're probably on the last slide now. So this is a QR code. This is just to sign up to your newsletter. If you want to sign up to this, please do spread the word. There are very few things in life, in teaching, that are absolutely free, but this is one of them. All it demands of you is your time, and just to step outside your comfort zone to try something that is a little bit different. It really isn't difficult. I've got a course with about 25 teachers and technicians coming in next week. Some of them will never have used this kind of kit, simply because it's too expensive to use in schools. So this programme is not only about increasing science capital, it's about widening participation for students that don't have access to these kind of resources. And really it's about educating our population for the future in terms of their healthcare. Thank you very much.
You're on mute, Tracy. Engrossed.
I know I was absolutely engrossed. It was really fascinating. And you're right, I did mention it in relation to our T-level side, but this is an opportunity that's open to all. I'm hoping that education early years practitioners are thinking, oh, I think we could have some, because there'll be a science person lead at your schools and thinking, oh, a science day and a DNA day, and they could get all trained up and then show that and explore that. I'm just thinking of lots of ideas. Cheryl's asking if there's one near North Hertfordshire. I presume if University of Hertfordshire is also part of that, there's one near. So I think that should come out.
It is the centre. It is
Yeah.
the centre. University of Hertfordshire is the UK hub. The University of Hertfordshire train a lot of teachers, and their STEM centre here really is the hub. And
Brilliant.
they're fantastically responsive. So if you want to get in contact with them, just use the QR code, and they'll kind of put you on their list, and they'll tell you all about it.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for sharing that. Right, so now we are on to our peer-to-peer, thank you, Victoria, peer-to-peer sharing. So what we're going to do is we are going to move into our breakout rooms, and we've created a Padlet to help facilitate this, and we will explain how to use this in our breakout rooms. I want us just to get into our breakout rooms, and we will have 20 minutes together to really explore and have discussions around your specific qual as well. So Gemma's popped the Padlet in this chat. I'm going to copy that as well, and I'll put it in all the rooms as well. So Cody, if you can open for those that don't know, Cody's here. She is our fabulous, well, they say administrator, and I'll never feel like that covers what she does. She does absolutely everything, really. She's brilliant. So if you can open the rooms for us and start sending people into the rooms. Alison, you're joining me in hell, so just so you know. So I think we just want to share what we found, and I imagine you're, other than they wish they could change the 111 competency, which ain't going to happen. Sorry, guys. Other than that, I think we will have similar. Cody's pure systems broke down again. So I think we're hearing really good things around placements and doing master classes and being like prepared, both from continue doing and things that they want to change, or adapt or include, because they've seen it in the recent events that they've been attending, very much around sort of placement preparation and tighten that all up. And I think there's been some really good insights today around that, and continue to really develop their students to think sort of critically. They want to continue doing that. One thing they'd like to change, I think I covered that as well, or more use of, and actually I spoke to a provider yesterday about this. Now that you've done it, kind of thing, it's going, right, okay, how can I more effectively measure student progress? So I think people are starting to explore that rubrics, that marking criteria, so they can accurately measure the students' progress throughout the year. And I just wanted to finish, just because we are a little tight with time, is this lovely comment that somebody's put about one thing they would tell a new teacher. So some of our new teachers on here, don't put pressure on yourself to get it right. Use experienced teachers to support you, use the forums and resources available, and build up your experience and organize your exam in advance. So I feel like that's just a really nice overall good feedback.
Definitely. And the feedback in our group was exactly the same. So we talked about placement, equity of opportunity, and how we can make sure that students are getting consistent opportunities to exceed and do well. But exactly the same kind of sentiment from our education and early years group. Work with each other, use each other's expertise, and you've got to do it once to know what you did wrong before you can adapt it and get it right. It's a learning experience, the same as what our students are going through at the same time as we are, and reach out and use each other's expertise and support, and of course Tracy, Elena and I, and the support we can offer as well.
Fabulous. Any final thoughts from your room, Gemma?
No, I think just to say that everyone who spoke, everybody's really appreciated your insights and what you had to share. And I think that there's going to be some wonderful connections as a result of today, whether you're going to go to one of the science hubs, or whether you're going to reach out to Kirsty at Bright Horizons, or talk to Liz about your curriculum planning. Lisa about your curriculum planning, or Liz about the passport. Everybody's found a connection today, which is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, fabulous. I'm just looking at Alison's message there. Thank you, Alison. Right, so now we're going to move on to the last half hour. So what we're going to do is we're going to explore how we're going to continue to support you. This is really key because I think you need to be aware of how we're going to support you next academic year. Because we have just been very overwhelmed with events the last few weeks, we have managed to get our first term up for our academic calendar for next year. And I just wanted the opportunity for you to have a real sort of preview of it, and then give you the first opportunity to sign, complete a form to go, I want to hear first. So early bird, and then we'll email you and go, they're up, get signed up, they're ready for you. Hopefully that way you will hear about the events first. Obviously Gemma will put them on her BPN as well, but our health and science don't have a best practice network space really that's used. So I want you to be able to hear about it first. And I think most of you follow me on LinkedIn anyway. If you don't follow me on LinkedIn, find me on LinkedIn, because I'm always shouting about our events on there as well. So what is going to be happening across all the T levels? So we're very much splitting this into year 1 and year 2 from this perspective. So for all T levels, we're doing a year 1 mastery journey. So the view is that you'll sign up for all 3 of the sessions across the year. So thinking, Louise, for your new staff and things like that, this is where they need to be. So I can't remember when it is. No, that's right. I've put it there. It tells me there what month it is. Right, okay. So year 1 mastery is combined for the first 2 virtual events, and then the June event we will split it. So health and science will come together, and then education and early years will do their own, because when we're looking ahead for preparing for year 2, the commonalities are no longer there. That because obviously there's a core exam, there's ESP, how do we prepare, how do we plan to deliver, how do we prepare students? That's the same no matter which TQ really. And obviously there'll be breakout rooms to focus your subject more specifically. But when it comes to looking ahead at year 2 planning, especially for Gen 2, you are going to want your own session that's exploring that. So that's the year 1 journey through the support. So September, January and June. All the T levels also will continue to have monthly drop-in clinics. So these will continue throughout the academic year. In fact, our employer set project drop-in clinics were so successful last autumn series that we had prior, that we're also going to bring them back in March, I think it is, the drop-in clinics for the employer set project ones. So those are just focusing, you can come and make sure that you know everything, you've crossed your T's, you dotted your I's, that you're okay, you feel ready. So we'll continue to have those and our monthly drop-in clinics, so you can reach out to us and speak to us not necessarily on a one-to-one. It depends. Sometimes we have quiet months and it is one-to-one. Other times it's a very busy month and it's not one-to-one. But you're able to get your questions answered around your call. We'll continue to do Chief Examiner bite-sized videos for the summer and autumn series. We do that the last few series we've done that, and we've put them on our YouTube playlist. So we've reflected on what's gone well. So it's taking that big Chief Examiner document, isn't it? And just going, right, tell me what I need to do and what I need to work on with my students from a national point of view so that I can get that right. And it's quite funny because we usually just see the same themes every year. There's never a surprise when the Chief Examiner comes up. So far, the areas of improvement continue to be the same areas of improvement. But we'll do them every year to make sure it's nice and fresh in that regard. And then we're going to continue to do our stakeholder events. I think we've had a real success this year with working with ETF and Gatsby for resources and our events. And we've got more planned, as you're about to see, in the upcoming academic year. So for our health and science TQs, obviously I'm covering all of the TQs. We've got a real key sort of mastery like the year 1s. But we've got assignments, the non-internally marked assignments. So for science, that's assignment 1 and 3, healthcare science assignment 4, and for health, assignment 1 and 3. So the externally marked ones, we're doing virtual sessions, really focusing just on the assignments and the mark scheme, which is something we've never done before for the year 2. And I thought I really want to prioritize year 2 this year. There's a plethora of stuff for year 1. I really want to prepare you for year 2. The internally marked ones is going to be available through the ETF funding. So those of you use the ETF funding before, where you attend a virtual event and then you get money for that because it's part of the industry insights side of it, you'll then get paid to access those. So I think, was it up to £450? I think, is that right, Gemma, for a full face-to-face day? And then I think it's 250 for a virtual. So that means every person from your centre that attends an ETF industry insight day or session will get money per that person. So if you send 5 people to the face-to-face, I can't do the maths that quick, that would be £2,200 that your centre would get to cover, roughly 2,200, that would get to cover you as in you're not there, so they might need a teacher cover, and also pay towards your travel expenses as well. So the science one is going to be on the 28th of November. They're both all going to be in Manchester, and the health one will be on the 27th of November in Manchester. So the links aren't available yet. I'm waiting for Yvonne, who I work with at ETF, to finish creating that. She's got a venue in Manchester set up, but as soon as that's done, we'll have the links, and if you sign up to hear about those early, we'll email that to everybody as well who sign up to hear about all the events. But there'll be really great sessions, really focusing on those internal assessment, how to use marking criteria, how to plan. Obviously, I'm not allowed to technically help you with any of your standardization training, but just because I can't help you, it doesn't mean in your networks you can't talk about, well, how have you looked at the standardization training, how are you looking at the tutor guidance, because by then the standardization training will be available. The tutor guidance with the new practicals will be available as well. That comes out obviously at the end of September, beginning of October, so we can really focus that session for your assignments. And finally, bite-sized videos. Just like my employer set project, bite-sized videos. If you've seen them on my YouTube playlist where I just focus on each task, I'm doing lots of bite-sized videos for all of the assignments, and they'll be available by Christmas. Unfortunately, I don't think I'll get it done quicker because there's too many occupational specialism in order for me to get it done before December. But if I can at least get the popular ones out, other people say, well, where's the mental health? And then, so I'll probably just launch them all at the same time. So those will be coming by Christmas. Over to Gemma for education and early years.
Fab, thanks Tracy. Okay, so I've cherry picked. I have to be honest, I haven't included everything that we're going to be covering because frankly there's going to be quite a lot of events coming in the academic year. So this is just some cherry picked things that I thought you'd find useful to know about now. So first off, we've got 2 Generation 2 specific events happening in August. They're live now to register for on our website on the events page. One of which is a CPD event that will be myself, Janet King and Elena Bennett running that one, and it'll be a virtual event with the opportunity for Q&A at the end. And then we've also got a drop-in clinic available at the end of August. Now I know you're probably thinking, August, why August? The reason we chose the dates that we did is they're around the time GCSE results go out to students, so you might be back in your colleges and schools, and it was just to make sure that there was at least something for you before September hits. We do already have an on-demand recording out there of the Gen 2 changes, so you can see that anyway, so don't worry if you can't make either of those events. That's still out there on our YouTube playlist. For those of you who are assessing, we have our next Assessor Network coming up in September. These always prove to be really popular. It is already live on the website, that one. If you haven't registered, please do. We usually have over 100 registrations for that one. And we do have to cap it at a certain point or the technology goes completely haywire. So if you haven't yet registered, please do. We're then going to be doing some workshops, the first of which will be around enhancing observation skills. And we'll be doing assessor masterclasses. Some of you will have been to one of them already. We cover different themes around assessing, particularly around the 111 competency criteria and around the structured observations for both EYE and AT. We're then also, just like Tracy, we're going to be doing some preparation for Year 2 sessions where we'll talk about preparing for the OS. And then new for us, and we're super excited about this one. Details will follow, similarly to Tracy's event that she's doing with ETF. This event, the T-Level Education and Early Years Conference, will also be done in conjunction with the Education and Training Foundation. And similar funding rules hopefully will apply so that you might get something back for attending, but it will be a conference just for us education and early years providers. So teachers, assessors, curriculum leads, SLT, if you can drag them along. We'd love to have everybody there. Details will come out about that nearer the time. We're hoping to host it somewhere fairly central. But when it does, I will share that on the Best Practice Network as well, which leads me nicely into the next 2 slides, Tracy, if you don't mind. So you'll see, I've just mentioned the Best Practice Network, and there's a little QR code on screen here. If you would like to join us and you haven't already, if you scan that QR code, there's a short form to fill in. And the Best Practice Network is used by assessors, curriculum leads and teachers to share ideas, thoughts, worries, all sorts of things. But I also use it to share events, resources, and it is monitored by us. So Tracy's in there, I'm in there, Elena, Janet, we're all around, and we can see what's being shared. Just by way of monitoring what's going on, it's a bit safer than those Facebook groups or WhatsApp forums. What we're sharing there is accurate. You'll also see on the screen that there are some Padlets that we've produced for assessors. If you haven't come across those, you can access them via the Best Practice Network. And I will be, in August, setting up a tutor Padlet as well. So when that goes live, I will be sharing that as well. And we also have all of the sandboxes from previous sessions that we've delivered on that Best Practice Network and on the Padlet as well. So you can go back and revisit some of the sessions that we did last academic year that will be leading in to September. And lastly, Tracy, just in case, if you could move on to the very last one, Tracy has set up this wonderful form for you all to scan and get early access to our upcoming events. So if you haven't joined the Best Practice Network yet, please do. And then also, if you could give this a quick scan as well, it means that when we do get our events live, you'll get early access to remind you to register as well. We have been everywhere this last couple of months, haven't we, Tracy? So normally we'd have these up a little sooner, but this just makes sure that you'll get access to them as soon as they go live.
Let me just pop that in the chat for you as well, for anybody that's having any QR issues. That's thinking about it. I'm trying, it's copied half of the form. There we go.
Thanks, Tracy. They're really quick forms, won't take you long. And you'll, for the Best Practice Network, you'll fill in a short form. And then when I get your form through, I'll invite you. You'll get a short email inviting you to the space. Do remember to check your spam or your junk folders, because sometimes they go in there, and then you'll be able to join the conversation. So we'd love to have you.
So that link that I've just put in is to hear about all of our events first. And then, but I haven't got the link for your Best Practice.
I'll do that one, Tracy, no problem.
Share that one for us. Thank you. So now we're going to move on to the final sort of session, which is an opportunity to ask our panel of speakers any questions if you feel like you haven't had them answered, that is. Please feel free to put them in chat, put your hand up, or even if you have questions for Gem or I, this is your opportunity to do that. Or are we feeling like, oh, I've got a lot to take away, I need another cup of coffee? That's okay as well. But I'll just give people a minute to see if they've got any questions. If not, I know some of people have been sharing their email in the chat as well, so you can always follow up with any questions if you think, no, I've got nothing at the moment, but I will definitely follow up when I've had time to think about it.
Fiona, as Generation 2 is coming out, will there be a new textbook? Well, if I had a penny for every time I've been asked that question, and it's a good one, Fiona, there will, yes. Bit of context to it. So we couldn't share the content for the textbook with the company that creates them until it was approved by Ofqual. So once that happened, we shared that over, but that means there will be a bit of a delay between us sharing that and the textbook being produced. What I can share with you though is that our team are working in the background to create a bit of an element to element guidance document to help you map across with your existing textbook. So please do keep an eye out for that. We're working on it as fast as we possibly can for you, and it will appear, or I will let you know about it first off in that best practice network, and then hopefully it'll go on to our website fairly swiftly after. So just keep an eye out for that. But I will pop out a bit of a look what's coming and look what's arrived. Yes, Fiona, there will be new schemes of work, and they'll be similar to the ones that were created for Generation 1. So they will have that suggested or recommended guided learning hours per element on there. Again, because the release of the spec was put back slightly, and I'm not passing the buck, but going to have to say, due to regulatory things outside of our control, the schemes of work were delayed slightly as well. So they are coming. And again, if you're on that best practice network, you will be tired of notifications from me pinging up to let you know when things are being released. But it's a great way to stay up to date, sort of in real time, and it saves you scrolling through websites. So please do keep an eye on that. But good question, Fiona.
Fabulous. Well, if we don't have any further questions for our panels, but as I say, please, and if everybody's happy, I'll follow. Anybody that's shared their email in the chat, I will follow up. Well, Gemma will next week because I'll be on annual leave. Gemma will follow up with the email address. So I've popped a link just above Fiona's comment for feedback for today's session. It's really valuable. It's the first time we've done such a long lessons learned, like fully immersive one of these events. So we definitely appreciate any feedback on this. So please do it doesn't take long to do the evaluations. So please do give us the feedback for today's session. And thank you everybody for joining us for today's session on lessons learned on delivery, and I hope you have a really fabulous summer. Thank you.
Thanks everybody.